Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So the Sega Genesis Mini is an upcoming retro gaming console that has really kept this whole wave of retro gaming consoles, mini consoles specifically, going. Specifically started with the Nintendo Mini and then Super Nintendo Mini and then PlayStation 1 Mini, and you get the idea. And there's also going to be a TurboGrafx Mini as well being released by Konami. And I just want to take a moment to really talk about this because, if you've ever watched my channel, I do talk about a lot of different things, geeky stuff mostly. And one of the things that I've loved for a long time, ever since I was a kid, is video gaming. And so a lot of the games that I play to this day are considered retro games now. So I spend quite a bit of my entertainment time playing retro games, mainly through emulation. But I still have a lot of my older consoles as well, although I don't have as many games as I used to, and some of them I can't even find. And so, which leads me to this whole discussion about the Sega Genesis Mini and just this retro hardware in general, and why would you even need that, if you have emulators. So these are just some of my thoughts on it. Now, for me, I think for a lot of people who have been gamers for a long time, the novelty factor is probably the biggest thing. Even if we are able to access thousands of games through emulation, we still want that old feel. We want to have the consoles in our hand, the controllers, the cartridges, the CDs, those games that we all know. And just having it physically from the manufacturer, from the company, it just gives you a different sense. It kind of brings you back to when you were a kid or back to those times that you fondly remember. And I don't think that's ever going to go away. And I think now in our modern times, it's probably even a bigger thing now for people to have those nostalgic feelings of novelty. And the other thing that I feel that people gravitate towards having these retro gaming consoles is just mainly the brand. A lot of people, whenever they think about Sega, Nintendo, Sony, there's a lot of feelings around that. So it's not just the physical medium as well. Because whenever I think of the name Sega Genesis, I think of when I had my Nintendo Entertainment System and then remembering seeing the Sega Genesis commercial for the first time on a TV and seeing something like Altered Beast or Thunder Force. And I was just absolutely blown away because, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. And then whenever the Super Nintendo came out, seeing the Mode 7 scaling, the beautiful graphics in Super Mario World, and it goes on and on. And so the brand has a lot to do with how we feel as well, because I can quickly associate Sega with some of the best arcade games of all time, Sonic and so forth. And then when I think about Nintendo, of course, Mario Brothers, Metroid, Zelda, so many classics. And the Sony PlayStation, I normally think about Tekken and Ridge Racer when they came out, even Battle Arena to Shinden, the Sega Saturn with Virtua Fighter, Dreamcast. Yeah, you kind of get the point. So every time I think about those names, they mean a lot to me. And then I would say the final thing is that we are able to hold on to, at least for some people, the physical portion of it. Now a lot of these retro gaming consoles, you get the actual physical hardware, but the games are still basically ROMs in an emulator. But just having that physical gaming history, that's going to become more and more rare in the future, because obviously we do everything digitally. We download our games, and our cartridges or optical media, they probably won't work as well in the future because it's physical. But just having that physical history, physical medium, that is going to be extinct, if it's not already for a lot of people who are in the newer generation. And so I think all of those things just combine. That's why we still, go back to these gaming consoles. That's why when a new retro gaming console comes out, especially now recently, people get excited. Now, when we talk about emulation, from a purely general gaming standpoint, it's true that you could get all the games that you want through emulation. And you can still get a lot of the same experiences and relive your memories that way. But I think for some purists, they feel like the best way to play a game is through the physical hardware, physical games. And having emulation is something that is, I would say for purists, it's just not a good thing. And in some cases, it's looked down upon. And then also there's a whole legality of it all, which is different for every part of the world. But in my general opinion, I'm very thankful that people like the MAME developers and all these other people who develop emulators, I'm so thankful that they spent the time to do this, because we think about what's going on with physical medium, how it's disappearing. For a lot of us, we might not ever be able to play these games again. Either the physical medium is not available, or maybe the arcade games just simply do not exist anywhere else except on the arcades. And so with all these people who develop these emulators, who reverse engineered these games to ROMs, they're really doing an important part, and some people who really are into emulation, they will always point back to preserving history, and I agree with that. And then at the same time, since we are still playing these games, that doesn't mean we're stopped buying games, and if anything, we're buying more games. So I'm still going to buy the games, even if I already have it on my emulators. If it's something that I feel that I would enjoy and I really want to support the company and even the developers, because later on, through this nostalgia, through this retro gaming, developers or game companies in the past, they could still make new games and we'll follow them, we'll purchase their products. Good examples of that is with Bloodstained. I purchased the game mainly because Iga, producing Symphony of the Night and many other Castlevania games, he's built a lot of great games and a lot of trust with a lot of gamers out there. So we'll gladly go and buy their games, even if it's not based upon the same exact name like Castlevania. I'll still buy Bloodstained because Iga and everything that he's done along with his team, I'm still going to do that. So in this way, you're able to support these companies, and you are able to support the developers, and you're able to support the gaming community as well. And so in general, I don't think of it as this versus emulation. I always think of it as, well, it just gives more gaming options to all the many gamers out there, both old and new. So those are some of my thoughts on the Sega Genesis Mini, and just really emulation as a whole, and the retro gaming that we have right now. It is a big thing, and I'm so glad that it's still here. And more than likely, I will pick up the Sega Genesis Mini. It does have 42 games on there, a lot of games that I truly cherish, and some games are missing, but overall, I think what Sega's doing, the attention to care that they're putting in, and also the emulation done by M2, this is how retro gaming hardware should be done. And in a lot of ways, this is a new gaming console by Sega, and they haven't done one since the Sega Dreamcast, which is my favorite gaming system of all time. That's just for me. I love arcade games and I love Sega. And so that is it for my thoughts on this. I just wanted to talk about this because it's something that's been on my mind. And as I said earlier, you seeing a lot of my older videos, I love gaming and I love retro gaming especially. If you had any of your own thoughts on retro gaming, retro consoles, emulation, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And if you actually did want to see my whole gaming playlist, I will also leave that in the description area as well. So if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hey geeks, if you are a creative geek like me and you wanted to learn how to create content on YouTube and other places on the internet, then check out my Gold Content Creators group, where you'll get access to 30 videos plus additional content for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part of it is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.